What does it take to fit 37s on a Raptor?
$30,000.
And a lot of banging. Hey guys, how do we keep you dirty off-road? And if you're watching this video, you probably have a Raptor and you want to put 37s on your truck. Now, if you guys will notice, I don't actually have 37s on my truck right now. We actually did put 37s on the truck, and I ran the truck for a couple weeks with it, actually a couple months, and we took them off because we're having too much rubbing. So in this video, we're gonna go over what you need to do to fit 37s on the truck and basically go over the two schools of thought when it comes to this, right? A lot of guys that think you can just get away with it with just doing some light trimming. Others, like me, don't think that's going to be enough, and you're going to need to do quite a bit of updates. So let's get started. Now, first off, let's address the guys that think you can get away with just doing 37s with minor mods. You could, but you're going to have a lot of problems. Typically, what you'll see guys do is they'll either do a perch up front or with springs in the front to get it 2 inches up there, and then they'll do devers or icons in the back, basically upgrade the leaf strings to get you that extra height you need in order to clear the 37s. Now, that will kind of sort of give you the space you need in the back. You shouldn't have any clearance issues in the back for the most part, but in the front, you're gonna have some major problems if you don't do any kind of trimming. You know, we tried to do it without any modifications just to see what would happen, and we couldn't clear the fenders and we could barely clear the shocks. Okay. Turn all the way. Just that little bit. All right, turn the other way. Holy shit, that's tight. Hold on one second, let me check the other side. Okay, do the same thing. Fuck, that's way too tight. Okay, thanks, hon. Yeah, it looks pretty tight, right? Unfortunately, though, what we found is by keeping the whole front end stock and not doing anything else besides just lifting the front end 2 inches, we were still getting rubbing. Anytime I went over a little bump, even something as simple as going through the curves, you know, on driveways and stuff like that, I would get rubbing if the wheels were turned in a little bit. And that's because this tire doesn't just go up, it goes a little back too when it tries to clear anything. If your only focus is to street queen the truck, you'll be fine, right? If you never go off-road, you'll be fine. But if you go off-road, you have to do extensive modification in order to clear the 37. Now, you guys heard me say it at the beginning of the video. What does it take to clear 37s? Well, it takes about $30,000. And the reason I say that is because the only way to do it properly and off-road your truck is to go full mid-travel, or what some may call long travel, on your truck. Basically, you need to have full travel on the back, and you need to have that full travel set up at the front in order to clear the 37s off-road. Anything short of that, you're gonna have issues. Now, on my truck, we put RPG's RST18 kit in the back, and we were running 37s by 13.5. We're actually going a little bit wider than normal. Now, for those wondering, yeah, 13.5, it's a little too big. We ended up putting 37s on the truck because we were asked to put 37s on the truck by Nitto Tires. We did a whole shoot with them that I'm hoping to share with you guys here soon. Yeah, that's why we ran the 13.5s. We didn't have any problems clearing them in the back because we had the RST18 kit in the back. So that allowed us full travel and allowed us the full protection with the bump stops. At the front though, we did not. All we did is we did the factory series shocks up at the front, and we had so much rubbing. I mean, so much rubbing that all the fenders are getting chewed up, and we're actually seeing some bowing out on our fenders. We're actually deforming our fenders from the move. We also went a little bit extra and did the pinch welds. Now this is something you have to do. If you're gonna put 37s and you're gonna off-road, you have to modify the pinch welds. We went over to the guys down at RPG Off-Road to do all the modifications. Basically what they did is they cut up our stock fender, gave us all that extra little space we need, and then they cut out everything out from the pinch welds and bended it back in. And it was very, very traumatizing seeing your truck get beat on like that. In fact, you risk breaking the windshield by bending the pinch welds. It's pretty traumatizing. Now, even with that mod, right, even with doing the pinch welds and all that stuff, that still wasn't enough to clear the 37s. We were still getting a lot of rubbing. The suspension was articulating. Any kind of turns or anything like that, I saw some rubbing. If at the end of the day, if we wanted to clear the 37s, we would need RPG's full bulkhead up front to get us the full travel that we needed. We would need the RST-AT kit in the back, and we would also need to do glass, right? So we would have to do fiberglass at the very minimum +2 in order to clear the tires. Even then, we'll still see a little bit of rubbing, but it won't be rip your fenders off rubbing. When we were running the truck like this with the stock fenders, we came fairly close to ripping off fenders. In fact, we ripped off a couple of screws and stuff like that down the trails because the fitment was just so tight. And the stock bumper wasn't really meant for that kind of setup. So again, that's where the $30,000 number comes up, right? It cost about 12 to 13 grand to do the rear, about 15 grand to do the front, and then another 2 grand to do fenders. And that's even if you go with cheap fenders, because fenders are about 600 bucks and it's going to cost you double that just to get them painted and set up correctly, plus the liners. So it gets fairly expensive. Now, we haven't even got into everything else that I would recommend you do. With a lot of trucks, if you go to 37s, you have to re-gear the back end just so that you can get the truck to start behaving normal again. With the Gen 2s, you can look at re-gearing them back, but honestly, with the 10-speed transmission on these things, you really don't need to. The 10-speed transmission can really compensate for that as long as you do some proper tunes. Now, I am going to warn you, the truck's going to have a hard time moving the 37s. When we did the switch to the 37s, I had a hard time getting the truck to go past 95 on the trails. I couldn't do it. And this was a situation where I was trying to get an action shot going 100 miles an hour, and I couldn't get the truck to do it. Now, my truck's stock, so there's not much in modifications of the engine, but with the 37s, it couldn't really get there. Now, for the other stuff, 0 to 60 and all that stuff, that wasn't affected too much. The 10-speed really took care of that. It's really on those high speeds where I really noticed the difference. Up at the front, I would also recommend some kind of engine modifications, not just to the engine, but also to the drivetrain. Eventually, you're gonna have problems with your steering system if you go to 37s. If you're on the street, it's not a problem. For those of us that abuse our trucks and go off-road, it will be a problem. So you'll need to keep that in mind, that eventually you're gonna need to upgrade the steering system and do some work there. And the truck's going to be down on power because of the extra weight, so you're going to need to go there as well. Now, on top of all of this, you also need new wheels. Now, we didn't really take that into account. You are going to need to change the offsets. Stock wheels, the offset's not right and won't fit any bolt-on kit. So you do need to make sure you get a 0 offset wheel so you can clear most of the long travel or mid travel kits that are out there. Now, if you want to do it in stages, which a lot of you guys probably will, they'll probably end up doing the 37s first and then doing suspension upgrades as you go. There is a way to do it and still kind of sort of clear the stock fenders. And we got this from the EXO guys. Jeremy there's Raptor still runs the stock fenders. And what he did is he actually trimmed the stock fender so he can raise the liners up about an inch. And basically, he goes in there, takes off all the trim and all that stuff. Then he cuts a line straight through there and moves the whole trim piece up about an inch on top of all the other trimming that you'll see us doing. All right, guys, thanks a lot for watching. I hope this video helps you guys out. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and put them down in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Keep those trucks dirty.